someone in the online community was looking for a way to mimic what Point Clone Plus in Modeler does, but wanted to do it in Layout. So I thought we could take a look at one way of going about doing it. Let's go ahead and start over in Modeler so we can see what Point Clone Plus is doing, and then we'll mimic that. For starters, let's go ahead and just create a flat plane, and we'll give it some segments with the up arrow key and the right arrow key, something like this. Okay, and then I'm going to center it with F2, and then let's go ahead and make some just simple little mountain ranges. So to do that, I'm going to go over to Modify. Let's use Magnet, and I'll right click to start setting up my fall off area, and then left click and drag, and I'm just going to raise a few areas. So I'm right clicking again to adjust, and then left clicking to raise. So that'll do for what we need. We've got a basic little range. I'm going to go ahead and lasso select and see that there are 600 points on this object. That'll be good to know when we get over to layout. Okay, in layer 2, I'm going to just create a simple little cone. We'll treat this as a little tree. Okay, something like this. Okay, and actually I'm going to size it down some with the stretch tool. Move this right here. Okay, so, and let's go ahead and center it, and let's hit F3, and we're going to rest it on ground so that it'll be right at the origin. Okay, so let's go ahead and place, for every point in the background, let's place one of these objects. So we'll go over to Multiply, Duplicate, More, Point Clone Plus. Now there's all kind of options here to randomize the scale and rotation and placement, but I'm going to go ahead and just use the default, which will keep everything the same. So as you can see, it's placed the object, it's created an object for every point that was in the background layer. But I'm going to go ahead and undo that. Okay, and let's go ahead and send this over to layout and do the equivalent, but we'll see how we go about doing it in layout. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Let's just do hill tree 001. That's going to be my simple name for that. Okay, and we'll send that over to layout. Okay, so we've got our two objects. I'm going to go ahead and switch to wireframe just so we can see both. Okay, zoom in here. Okay, so what I want is for every point on this object to create a clone to make a duplicate copy of this little cone, which we'll refer to as a tree. Okay, so just like we did in Modeler, but in layout. So I'm going to grab the ground object, the object that's in layer 1, P for properties, come over to the Dynamics tab, and under Add Dynamic, we're going to make that an emitter. Okay, I'm going to double click. And for the nozzle, let's change that to object vertices, so the points that make up this object. For generate by, let's change it from second to frame. And remember, we selected the object over in layout to see how many points, and it was 600 points. Let's go ahead and do 600 for the birth rate. And for the limit, let's do 600. Okay. So what we're saying is that on frame 1, it's going to create 600 points, 600 particles. Each particle is going to be placed where a point is on the object, and then it's going to limit at 600, so it won't create more. We'll go ahead and calculate, even though it probably already did it, but just as a backup, we'll calculate. Okay, and so now what we'll do is we'll select layer 2, which is the tree, and we'll come over to the Utilities tab, and under Additional, we'll choose Effects Linker. Okay, so the particle emitter is layer 1. We're going to replace the particles with layer 2. We're going to make, let's do 600 for the copy. And again, we've got random rotation and scale, but let's go ahead and just leave this the same, and we'll hit OK. And what we have now, let's go to texture shaded solid. So what we have now is for every point that makes up that object, we have a copy of the object. So it made 600 copies, 600 clones of that object. And there you go, a quick way of mimicking Point Clone Plus in layout using Effects Linker.